Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of She's Got the Lead. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about what it's like having faith as an athlete. I feel like recently we've been seeing a lot of athletes speak on their media platforms like their Instagram. They've been speaking on it on press conferences, post game interviews. Everything is just about their foundation with God. And I feel like before it wasn't really talked about. I know a lot of people were sensitive to the topic. A lot of people didn't want to express the fact that they had a relationship with God. And the fact that it's becoming a normal thing that I've been seeing on my timeline, I think is super important. My favorite person who was speaking on it was AJ Brown. He had went to a college and he was just telling the athletes like, you can have all this money, but you still won't be happy until you have a deep connection with God. And today I wanted to bring somebody on who I know went through a lot in the past year. Their life has done an entire 360 as an athlete. And when you're going through things like that, the only thing that you can do is stay positive and have faith in yourself and the plan that God has for you. Somebody who I know personally is helping me grow in my faith. I'm helping him grow in his because he is my younger cousin. So my younger cousin, Nakai Johnson, is a defensive tackle from Tulsa University. And today he will be joining us and just giving us his story and his background on how he has grown his foundation with God and how it has helped him flourish as an athlete. So let's get into it. Hi, cousin. Thank you so much for joining us as She's Got the Lead.
Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So,
Yeah.
so that everybody knows who you are, can you just give us a little gist of who Nakai Johnson is and how you got here?
I'm a defensive tackle at the University of Tulsa. I'm a Pitt grad, and yeah, it's a little bit something.
Yeah, I was telling them that your life kind of did an entire 360. You started at Pitt, now you're in Oklahoma. This is your last year of eligibility. Kind of tell us how you decided that it was time for you to leave Pitt, take that leap of faith, and end your last year at the school that you're at now.
I say just a lot of unfortunate events that were going on in the city. I don't want to get too specific, but there were just a lot of things that leaded me out. Um, but I definitely enjoyed my time there, and I love my city. Don't get me wrong, I love Pittsburgh to death. That's the city that made me. But I feel like everybody knows when there's a time when it's time to pack your bags and go. And it was a hard decision, but I had to make that decision. And yeah,
Okay, so let's kind of rewind back. Um, was there ever no? Let's rewind to like when you were at Pitt. You grew up there. Everybody's gonna watch you from high school. Like, I'm a silent reporter for high school, so we watch these kids and we see if they're gonna, stay home, go to Penn State or Pitt. You decided to go to Pitt. When you were at Pitt, did you feel any type of higher expectation from the city, just being that you were one of those guys who decided to stay there?
of course, I don't know if people know Pittsburgh football. Pittsburgh football is one of the biggest things, always a trending topic, always something for people to talk about it. Being one of those elite guys to come out the city and play Division 1 football, you're always going to be the topic of discussion. Is he going to be a bust? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? And definitely the pressure was on me. But the best thing you could try to do is just not pay it no attention, no mind, just keep balling as if you were. And honestly, for me, I really tried to pay it no mind. I just tried to keep doing me, just keep balling. Like, I knew everything wasn't going to come to me at one time, but I just knew everything was going to come in due time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, we shared your experience in Pitt. It was like you had a lot of ups and downs during football, and we would talk about it outside of, practice and stuff like that. Was there ever a time where you kind of questioned who you were as an athlete in general?
Yeah, most definitely. And anybody watching this who thinks it's not healthy for you to question yourself, I feel like everybody goes through that. Every athlete goes through am I who I think I am, or am I who they think I am type of deal. It's everybody does it, everybody goes through it, and it's really up to you to shape who you are and build your own, build your own story, build your character.
Yeah, and what did you do as far as like your faith? What did you do in those moments where you were questioning, like, am I who I think I am?
There were times when I used to just sit down and I used to think. I used to try to manifest, things, but things that I manifested weren't happening. So I turned to prayer, honestly. I really turned to prayer and I just kept praying on it, and I feel like through prayer God gave me signs of what to do and what not to do. And I just took those things that he told me to do and I ran with it.
Yeah, of course. That's the only thing you can do. So I wanted to address the fact that athletes now, professional athletes, me and you were having a conversation a couple weeks ago about AJ Brown and how he spoke to athletes at a university about the fact that although he won the Super Bowl, he has all this money, he has everything that athletes think that they want, but he still didn't feel fulfilled until he had a relationship with God. So why do you believe as an athlete it's important to showcase your faith?
I feel like having faith in something is better than having faith in nothing. Having faith in whatever you believe in, whether it's God, whether it's whatever you choose to put your faith in. Well, I put my faith in God. I put my faith in God because waking up every morning, He just gives me hope.
Mm-hmm.
He gives me hope. If things aren't going my way, then things are going to get better. It's just that clenching on the hope and that motivation and keep going. When everything's going wrong, He's going to make it better, and He always does.
And what's one moment you would say, as far as you're in your career, that was like a coming to God type of moment? I feel like a lot of people grow up in the church and, you're just required to kind of go with your parents. It's like a thing, like you know who he is, but you never really sat and talked to him until you really like needed God, and then you see the outcome. Maybe he blessed you, maybe he answered your prayer, and then you create like a consistent relationship with him. So in your career, if you could give us one moment where you were like, yeah, God is my dog, like he's helping me with everything.
I want to say this, but I don't want to stir people in the wrong direction because this is just my testimony. This is something that I've been through, and this is my biggest turning point, and everybody's is different. But mine was honestly leaving Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I feel like as soon as I got to Oklahoma and got to have some time by myself, not around familiar faces, getting to show people who I am, getting to showcase who I am over again, it really gave me that time to this is who these people are going to remember me as, and I want them to remember me as a child of God, honestly. I don't want them to look at me as, oh, he used to do this and now he's trying to change and this might be fake. I want it to be the most realest version of me, but the most faithful version of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like my coming to God moment was definitely moving because without this move, I don't think I would be in the position that I am in today.
No, I feel that. I feel like one of mine was like being able to move to. I think college really, that's the point of your life where it really introduces you. Like you need a lot of help as far as like mentally. We balance so much as college students, especially you being a student athlete. Like you said, football is more mental than it is physical because you're putting your body on the line every single day. Try to keep yourself motivated to see if this is really where you should be. And those are kind of like the questions that you ask God, where it's like, should I take this transition in my life? Should I take this leap of faith? And I feel like everybody has experienced something like that in their life. So back to the athletes kind of speaking on their personal platforms, like AJ Brown, I seen something with the Jets head coach. He's making his athletes have Bible study, you know. And football is such a rigorous sport. Why do you feel it's important that, or maybe it's a little bit more motivational for you, that you're able to see NFL teams or NFL players speaking out about their relationship with God?
Well, honestly, with all this money and things that are going on, it's just how young, most of us are playing this sport. It's very easy for people to get lost in it.
Mm,
Like a quote that everybody says is money is the root to all evil. And, you see these NILs deals that guys are getting in college and these contracts guys are getting in the NFL. It's so easy for guys to get this money and just think they're so powerful. And, it's it's I feel like it's the best to stay humble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being humble is the best way you could go about just having all this money and being able to do getting leeway on a lot of things. You know, staying humble and being humble. You know, I like to think of myself as a very humble person.
Yeah.
I like to stay down to earth. You know, I never want to be too flashy, too this, too that. But uh, yeah, just making sure people are staying humble because you could definitely get lost in this lifestyle.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that right after you said that. I'm happy you touched on being humble. How do you keep yourself grounded knowing that despite everything, all the money that you may have, all the things around you as an athlete, how do you stay grounded in who you are and your faith?
Just remembering that at the end of the day, you know, I'm still human. You know, I'm still a child of God, just like everybody else is. You know, there's I might be getting a little bit more attention than some people. I might be doing a little bit different things. My body might look a little bit different, but at the end of the day, we are all one being. You know, we are all the same. So I, that I say my biggest, like I said, I just like to stay humble.
Yeah. So, what would you say to athletes that feel like they're being overlooked? You mentioned that earlier, how you experienced that at Pitt. I even got to witness it. There were times where, like, I remember a year where we thought, like, you were going to be the guy of the team, you were going to start. Like, coaches were promising you something that they didn't really put into action. So, but you overcame it. Your last year, I really seen you overcome it. You became the voice that you wanted to on the team, but it still just wasn't like, enough for you. That's why you decided to go to another school, get a fresh start. What would you say to an athlete, a younger athlete who's listening, who may feel overlooked and believes that their prayers as far as in their sport isn't being answered?
It's for everyone, their journey, their testimony, everything is going to be different. You know, and for me, it happened at the end of my career, but for you, it may happen at the beginning. You know, so all you can do is really just keep doing what you're doing, keep going hard, and you know, pray. And if you feel like an answer is right, don't be afraid to take it. You know, because I took probably one of the biggest risks of my life in leaving the city that I was most familiar with, and I wouldn't second guess it. You know, if I had to go back and do it all over again.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to say, as your big cousin, yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of you. I've seen you change. I've seen you change in a more positive way, and it's like weird because I know a lot of people who may have seen you leave Pittsburgh may think like, oh, it's a facade, like he's faking, he's not, or even for you to come on this podcast and speak about your faith, like people who known you from the past may look and be like, that's not really Nakai. I do want to tell you that you're doing an amazing job. The person, the man that you're growing into, the athlete that you're becoming, I've definitely seen you change. Yeah, and I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you this season. I think things are going to take a huge turn for you and they're going to work out in your favor. So, from me and everybody at She's Got the Lead, my listeners, my followers, we wish you the best of luck and thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you, cuz. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For sure.